Welcome to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Dekker team. I'm Yetta Dekker, and today I am here with
Ryan Dekker,
which is kind of my sidekick, offspring, and what do you call you?
Son,
realtor on the team, somebody that gets real estate and really started getting it at a really young age. He was a few months old when I started in the industry, so it's all he's ever known. And by the time he was 20, he decided it was time to buy his first home. And so we're going to share a slightly different story and format. This will be a one-of-a-kind show, at least for now. We'll see how you like it, and if you love it, we may do it a whole bunch more. And so we're going to start with really just sharing a story of Ryan's experience of buying a home, his first home, and how that might relate to you or someone you know. So what was it like for him? We're going to attempt to get into his head, which is a scary place. And if you have kids, you'll appreciate that it's a scary place to get into your kids' heads. And yet kind of fascinating. And so, Ryan, tell us a little bit about that first home, that first house. How did you get it?
So obviously I had to create some money in order to get
because we
this
didn't
home.
give you just the down payment?
Because the money was not just given to me, that's right. And so I needed to work. And a buddy of mine decided that we were going to work together. And so we went for different jobs, and eventually we came upon tree planting.
I love the job you almost went on. That was the reserves.
Yeah, the military reserves, yeah. Not quite a fit, but yeah. We went for the interview, and I decided to opt out of that one.
Yeah, pretty quickly, I understand.
Pretty quickly, yeah. Yeah, not my cup of tea. And so yeah, we went tree planting and made a lot of money and was able to buy a house within 2 summers. And it was...
Now, at the beginning,
yeah,
your goal when you went out to tree plant was to make enough money, not to buy your first car.
No.
It was to buy your first house.
That's right.
18 years old, you decided, you know what? This is something that if I work hard, it looks pretty easy when I hear other people talk about it and do it. So it can't be that tough to go make a few bags of money and come back and buy a house. And then you headed out to BC. I remember we didn't get a lot of phone calls. That first little while, though, was pretty interesting. So your first week, how much money did you make?
Oh, I'll tell you about the first day.
Yeah, okay.
So the first day, we get out there and we've got our gear and got our trees and our shovel, and we're ripping, ready to go. And the first holes, I had to jump on my shovel and wiggle on it really hard, reefing it back and forth, trying to get a big enough hole to put a little bitty tree in there. And so you put the tree in, and then I had to kick the hole shut, and I'm swinging and kicking. And I did about 400 trees that day, which after camp costs, I made $15. So a 10-hour day.
Never mind your flight.
No, a 10-hour day, and I made $15.
Yeah, but you still had expenses. Those weren't covered.
Yeah, getting out and, my tent and, all my gear, absolutely.
So $15.
Yeah.
Really, minus a whole lot of money.
Yeah, well, if you count it that way, it was negative. But really, I made $15, so about $1.25 an hour, something like that. It was.
And were your trees good enough, or did they rip them out?
I think those trees were okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was taking a long time for a tree. Yeah, but we did have to keep replanting them. It was hard. And so as the week went on, we did get a little better. But I was so sore. Man, I was sore.
Your hands were bleeding too, weren't they?
My hands were bleeding. They were seized from holding the shovel. They'd flick open and close. There was no middle range in your hand. It was tough.
And why did you stay with it?
Well, when you're committed to something, right, you're not being moved around by pain or fear. You're being moved by a desire, by a passion. And I didn't know it then. However, being moved by a passion is a lot more beneficial than moving by a pain. Because once a pain stops, or another pain becomes too strong, you automatically change direction. So you don't have a lot of momentum. But with this, I had the desire, a couple desires. One was to work with a friend, and the other one was to make enough money to buy a house.
Down payment for a
Down
house.
payment,
Not cash.
Not
or
cash.
anything.
No,
It wasn't
that would have
kind
been
of
great,
money.
but no.
Okay, so at the end of the first week, what was the money like?
I think I was making like $50 a day. It was still pretty bad, and so I think 4 weeks in is where you started to make like minimum wage about that time. And I remember all the things going through my head. It was like, man, am I not good enough? Was it a mistake for coming out? Can I keep this going? There's just so many stories that, just kept rolling and rolling. And just like, am I going to be a quitter? Am I not going to get the house? Am I not cut out for this? Yeah, a lot of stories.
Are you even cut out to own a home?
Yeah.
Because maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe a car was a better target.
Maybe. Yeah.
Right. And so if you're listening to this show, it sounds like it's going in a unique direction, which it is, because what we're attempting to do is give you a picture of what it might look like for you. Your story is going to be different. Maybe you didn't decide to tree plant, and yet what did you have to sacrifice? What did you have to give up? What did you have to stay committed to? What pain did you have to endure to get where you wanted to go?
Mm-hmm. And maybe, you don't have a house yet.
Right.
Maybe you're young, maybe you're old, maybe, you haven't...
Older,
whatever. Maybe you're in a stage of your life where you don't think you can do it.
For whatever reason. And, my job doesn't pay enough, or whatever your reason is. I want to encourage you that it's just a reason. And right now, we're going to switch gears and we're going to push into how this terrible job, because it's the hardest job in Canada if you're not aware. You say it is.
I say it is, so do the TV shows. So,
do they do?
Yeah,
okay, they do.
It is the hardest job in Canada as far as physical. How it turned into quite a great thing through commitment and through learning. So we're going to share some of those secrets, and you can implement those in your own life.
Right, regardless of whether you want to go have the best job in the world planting trees.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah, that's right.
Or the worst job in the world.
It's not the worst, it's the hardest. There's a big difference.
Hardest, okay.
Didn't say worst.
It was good for you.
It was very good for me.
He came up a little more grown up.
Yeah, I'll do
came
that.
home. So that was good. All right, so what would you like to focus on?
Well, let's talk about some of the decisions
that
had to be made. So when I was there, it was very much, there's all this negative stuff. And so what decisions did I have to make in order, one, to make more money, and two, to stay with it?
Right, because you wanted to come home.
Yeah, I was hurting. I was hurting. So the first decision I had to make, that no matter what, I was going to make this happen. And that might sound, wrong, because you're making no money. Why would you keep going? And when you see other people making money and other people succeeding,
doing the very thing,
doing the same thing,
right,
you could use that as fuel.
Right.
So it's not like I'm, doing a model that doesn't work. I'm doing a model that works
for someone.
For someone. I just haven't gotten it to work for me yet. So that was the first decision. And then that because I saw someone else do it, I could do it.
Okay.
That I could achieve.
And they didn't seem bigger or smarter or tougher or
some
anything.
were girls, some were boys, some were small, some were big. It didn't matter.
There didn't seem to be a specific formula other than commitment?
No, there was definitely things to the formula. And that's where I got really curious. I went, what are these people doing? I'm going to tell some funny stories, and if they're inappropriate, I apologize. It's okay. You'll be all right.
Maybe not.
You will. So one of the things that you got to remember is you're in a torn down forest, and you need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would do is I'd run into the forest where there were still trees, and I'd find the perfect spot, and it would take me about 20 minutes to find the spot and go to the bathroom. But that's 20 minutes I could be making money, because we're paid per the tree, per everything. Now you may be thinking, well, I know where the bathroom is in my office. How is this relevant, right? And the reality, though, is there was a guy. Do you remember his name? He used to do Calling. Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, yes.
If you haven't seen that movie, great movie. He used to dial the phone until his finger was bent, and he wouldn't drink from the cooler because he wanted to do less bathroom breaks because he could make more calls. So it became about efficiency. And it was the same with me as I learned how to do it quicker, faster, more productively. And I won't get into the details on it. Just know that even that small of a thing can have a big impact. I got about 20 minutes a day back, and that was one of them. The other one was how to open the hole with your shovel. Another one was how to put the tree in. Another one was how to follow your tree line. And so I learned some of these by doing. I also learned it by, in my own time, researching it and talking to the big planters and, the epic, tree planter who hit the most. I'd run up to him and be like, what do you do? Seriously, like, what do you do?
And how do you do it?
And how do you do it? And so your conversation stops becoming woe is me. And in my head, I started going, okay, I can do this. This is what he's doing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again and again. And then if it didn't work, I'd go back to him and say, well, it's still not, or it is, it's amazing, thank you so much. And so you start creating these decisions that you are going to succeed, first decision. And then second one is, what areas do I need to succeed? And then just start choosing those individual decisions.
Okay, and so how does that apply to you that's watching or listening in terms of, because I'm sure most of them aren't going to go out and tree plant.
And if you are, great, call me and I'll give you some tips. However, if you're not,
you got to figure it out.
If not, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than okay.
Yeah, it's great.
I think there's better jobs.
Yeah, I think it was a great job. But I won't talk down the job. Just, it doesn't matter where you are. Don't quit your job.
Yeah.
There's things you can do.
Right.
So the question, I missed it,
is how does that principle of figuring out those things that I need to do in my career or my job, how do I go about that to get more efficient, more effective, to lose that wasted busy time or downtime? How would I go about that if I'm listening to the show today?
No, before I answer that, I want to speak to one thing. If you are self-employed, this conversation may seem more relevant, right? Because you can create more money, or if you're in a sales job, it may sound more relevant. But if you're in a job where your salary is your salary, right? You may be thinking, well, even if I get better at my job, what does it matter?
Matters a lot.
Why does it matter?
Well, because then there's other opportunities for me. Even if it's not in that position, it opens up all kinds of other potential opportunities. And there's often a season, if you're thinking of buying your first home or some other large accomplishment that you want to do, you may want to say, I'm going to take a second job. I'm going to do for a season. I don't think you want to run your whole life doing that. Workaholism is not great. No, it's too much. And yet for a season, it can be wise to get that down payment or to get that debt paid off or that student loan or whatever, because that's a piece of the journey too, right? Get those things handled so that you can be positioned to do other things. Right. So maybe it's a part-time job.
Maybe.
And maybe it's a quicker promotion.
Maybe it's quicker promotion. So what are some of those things you can do?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So first off, you need to surround yourself with people who are succeeding in the way you want to succeed. Number one. So if you're like, okay, I want this promotion, we'll go talk to the guy who got the promotion. Or if you're like, oh, well, I want to make this amount of money, we'll go talk to the guy who's making that amount of money or who's making more than that. And ask them questions like, how do you do this? How do I do it? And get really curious on how you can take your game to the next level.
So curiosity.
Curiosity, yeah, this is intense curiosity. And like I said, the commitment's big. If you're like, well, yeah, I'll try it. No. Because as soon as the pain gets too big, you'll bounce off the pain and go in the direction you want. So for us, we really need to be committed to something.
So if you're just joining us on the Inside Track on Real Estate with Dekker team, I'm Yetta Dekker and this is Ryan Dekker, and we're talking about his first home buying experience when he was 20 years old. I guess he was 18 when he started the journey and 20 when he actually made that initial down payment and got keys for his first house, and he was in college at the time still taking a finance degree and chose to put tenants in the home, and well, we'll say part of the story for him
we don't
in a
need
minute.
That part.
It's kind of fun. And hopefully you've learned a few things about principles around commitment. And if you want to go back to the first half, we're talking a fair bit about commitment and about strategic ways of creating for yourself, the knowledge you need so you can accomplish the goal that you want. Mm-hmm. Is that a good summary?
It's a great summary.
All right. And so what needed to change and when did things change for you?
For me, about week 4 was when it started to change. And like I said, it was really the small decisions I made that made the big difference.
Tiny decisions.
Little decisions, yeah. About, how many trees did you carry? A lot of people bagged up really big, a really heavy bag, and they'd use that all day. Whereas I decided to go with the right amount, so when I was done, I needed to drink and eat and go again and go again and go again. And I didn't have to carry around as much weight as other people were. And so there was little strategies that take you a big way. So an example for, someone who's, I heard this one the other day, it blew me away. The guy said to his nephew, before you start your job tomorrow, I'm going to give you a few hints. And these hints, you will get promoted within a year, and you will be the top 6 in your company of a couple hundred people. And one of the main hints he told him, he's like, what time do people go to work? He said 8 o'clock. And he went, great, you go at 7:30. He's like, okay. And
half an hour.
Half an hour early. And how long do you get for lunch? And he said, an hour. He said, okay, you take a half an hour and you work the rest. What time do people leave? 5. Okay, you leave at 5:30.
So now we got an hour and a half extra.
He's got an hour and a half extra time that he's working. Of work day. And so he's using this time to just get in there and learn as much. And some people are like, well, that's too much of a commitment.
Yeah, it's big.
It's a big commitment.
It's an extra hour and a half a day.
He had a big goal.
What was his goal?
His goal was to be promoted within a year into a much higher paying job, making over $100,000 in his first year outside of college. That's not bad.
That's pretty awesome.
That's pretty good. And so sometimes you need to do things that are a little bit out of the box. And I won't get into all the things he told his nephew. However, he was promoted within 5 months. Wow. Pretty cool. And so get really curious on what things can you be doing that take you outside of the norm, that take you so you learn faster, learn more. Enough of this, I can't do it. Just say I won't do it, and that will give you some freedom because you'll realize that it is a choice. It's not something that you were predestined or, you're not stuck to it. So if you decide that you can't, just say I won't, and then it'll open some area for you to actually make choices that you could do it.
Okay. And so you started talking about what decisions you made.
Yes. So you want more of the decisions I made?
Yeah. You decided quitting wasn't an option.
Quitting was an option.
You decided it didn't matter the amount of pain you had. You were going to stay with the pain and work through the pain.
Oh, that's what I didn't mention is that about the 4-week mark, the pain went away. Ah. It totally subsided. So, I still had the clamp tan. That got worse. However, there was ways to work on that and get it relaxed. And the pain in my legs and in my back and in my shoulders, I grew physically, maybe mentally as well, and those things went away. Now, what we haven't mentioned yet is in the second year, I actually became the top planter in my company, and I made the most money of anyone there. And that year, I got hypothermia twice and heat stroke once. And what's interesting, and that's well working, right? So you're pushing through these things, and you don't let it stop you because you have a big goal. You have something that's worthwhile going for. Now, another thing, though, is I learned that I was wearing the wrong clothes. And so because I was wearing the wrong clothes, I was getting heat stroke and hypothermia when it rained because it got really cold in the mountains. And once someone taught me, there's another way. So it's the same as, how to plant better. It's how to take care of yourself. It's how to eat. It's how to drink. It's how to wear clothes. It's all of that.
Right. And so how does that apply to my office job?
Oh, your office job. That's a good question. So you may not see it because it's your office job. So this is why you go to someone who's already doing it. And you look at them and you say, what are you doing differently? Are they coming in earlier? Are they eating something different for lunch? And now this is a sensitive topic. However, if you're a bit heavy and you want to lose weight, it's a lot harder to look at your own life and say, what should I be doing different? And a lot easier and looking at some people who are the body shape you want and saying, how do they do that? What do they eat? What do they drink? How much do they exercise? How much sleep do they get? How much? And start looking at their lives and start modeling that. And it's the same in your job. Choose the people that you want to
emulate.
Emulate, thank you. And do those things.
And then implement.
And implement. And there's, some people say 30 days. I believe it's about 66 days.
I say it depends on the habit, and it depends on who you are and
Fair
how
enough.
big a deal it is that you're
So I'm going to say
something.
66 days. And if you can do 66 days, it no longer becomes difficult. So if you implement something and do it and do it and do it for 66 days every day.
Give or take. Come on. I've done enough research. It's give or take. It
Yeah,
depends
it's
on
fine.
what it is. Okay.
Just commit to 66 days.
Oh, all right.
Just commit to something. And if you do this, I believe you'll find, and it may take longer, you'll find that it actually becomes harder not to do that habit than to do it. Right. So at some point, it becomes easy. It's like brushing your teeth. If I took away your toothbrush and said, you can't brush your teeth ever again, it would take you a while to get used to that. But at a certain point, and this is a bad habit, but at a certain point, you'd get used to not having brushed teeth. Now, it's the same if you never flossed and you decided, okay, my dentist told me that
I only have to floss the teeth I want to keep.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
So if you only have to floss the teeth you want to keep, and you want to keep all of them, you start flossing. And you do this for 66 days, it becomes easy. So it's the same with your work, it's the same with your relationships, it's the same with your healthy habits. Well, you choose, but at least 66 days. Go longer if you need. And watch how it becomes easy. And only try and implement one or two at a time. Don't do too many. Don't try and take on the world all at once, because it's overwhelming. One at a time. And so we're trying to cover big ground here. And yeah, commit.
Yeah.
Now, one I've mentioned, and I'm going to dig into it a bit, is surround yourself with people who support you to the goal you want. So I had a friend that went with me, and we were constantly playing off of each other. Being like, you can do it, man. I'm going to beat you today. You can be like, we just really helped each other move forward. And
you took turns being number one, number two, number one, number two, right? Fighting for the top of the pole.
We did for a long time.
Yeah.
And in the end, I did plant a lot more than him in the second year. And he kept with the company longer. I moved on to real estate. And he ended up becoming a foreman and doing very well. And what's interesting, though, is as you surround yourself with people who support you, it becomes easy. If I didn't have him, I don't know if I would have been able to keep my commitment. And so you gotta be very careful. Who are you letting in? Who are you allowing to be that voice beside you that says, you can do this, you can't do this. And we'd also play off of each other. I'd be like, man, this is what I did today, and it worked. And he'd be like, oh, I haven't tried that yet. I did this today. You should try it. And so you're getting double the results.
Right, and we can do that in any area of our life.
Absolutely.
Right, and so what at 18 years old would make you want to buy a house?
Oh, man, good question. So I wanted a home.
You didn't like the one you were living in with your mommy and daddy?
Well, at some point, I believe kids got to grow up. And our culture is telling us differently, not necessarily by their words, but by their actions. A lot of my friends are still at home. And it's not a judgment. It's just that's not something I wanted. I wanted to have my own home. I wanted to call it a place of my own. And this may be counterintuitive. It was actually cheaper to own month per month than to rent. And some people don't understand that. So it didn't make sense for me to go out and get an expensive place to live and not
own it.
And not own it. So there's so many benefits to owning a home, and I knew those because I grew up in it. And if you're not aware of the benefits, come out to one of our workshops because it's incredible financially and over your lifetime.
And the workshops are pretty much every Thursday.
Yeah, second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, so almost every Thursday.
Yeah, not the first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're interested in learning more about real estate, and all the workshops are focused on different aspects and yet at a different place, and yet all of them strung together would give you an awesome ability to sort of see where you fit into the whole picture. I wouldn't say it's a come only to one. It would be come to all three.
Yeah.
And get tidbits, because some of the information's repetitive, and I think that's another one of the tricks that you learned or secrets is let it be repetitive.
Yeah, repetitive's okay.
Well, it's more than okay, because the average adult needs to hear the same thing 6 to 7 times before they sort of start to internalize it. And so what did it feel like when you actually purchased that first house? Because you did eventually get enough down payment after 2 years, even though you were making minus $1,000 the first few days.
Yeah. It grew, yeah. So to give you perspective, some days I was making $550 a day in the end. So there was money to be made once I mastered the model.
Yeah, from minus whatever to 550.
So the growth curve was quite extreme. And not everyone got to that place. Some people were much, much lower, and I attribute it to the commitment and the decisions we already said. So what did it feel like? That's a good question. What was going through my head was that this was just so cool, that it was mine, that I owned a place that I could call home, and I owned it at a young age. And I had some tenants, and I won't go into the story around that today because we don't have time. But being able to create that family and that area for other people was really, really cool. That was a big blessing. And so I would say it was fulfillment, joy, and just there was a lot of good thoughts. Like, I can't believe this has happened. I did it. There's a lot of accomplishment as well.
That's awesome. So, and he actually didn't get to see the house until after he came home. We actually bought it for him without him ever seeing it. He sent the money ahead, and then we found a home that we thought would suit him. And we actually have a couple of great properties that we'd like to offer that actually fit similar to profile to what Ryan ended up purchasing. Slightly different areas, and yet a great way to get started, or maybe even a second home or a move down home. We've got one that I want to chat about in Blackburn Hamlet, a beautiful freehold townhome, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it would be a great investment property. And Ryan's all about investments now. So what you may not know, if you haven't listened to some of the shows before, is he went from that 18-year-old looking to make some money for a down payment to somebody that actually helps investors day in and day out make amazing financial decisions. And he's created some software actually through his college program as well, and his degree, the stuff he's done education-wise, as well as his hands-on in the real estate industry and his own learning, that gives you the opportunity to really see your rates of return, which is cool. So you'll want to connect with us for that. And then another great property I don't want to forget about is in Alta Vista, a wonderful little bungalow, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, in just one of the most exquisite areas. And it's only $450,000, which for that community is quite extraordinary. So if you're interested in anything to do with real estate, you'll want to give us a call, 613-860-4663 or info@dekkerteam.com. And if you want to learn more of what goes on in Ryan's brain, you'll have to call and have a one-on-one. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you.